You ready?
Do it.
All right. Welcome to our Market of the Moment update, the week of December 6th. Michael Oldham and the Oldham team here with Chris Madrid with Guaranteed Rate.
Hey.
What's up, Chris?
What is happening?
Chris and I are going to catch you up this week. There's really not a lot new going on, so we're going to probably make this a pretty quick update, and this will also most likely be our last one for 2021. As those holidays are rolling in, it's getting tough for us to get together right now. So anyway, with that said, we're going to get on to it. Chris with Guaranteed Rates going to go over our current mortgage trends as usual, and
yes,
have into your thoughts.
Man, absolutely. So it is a it's a great time to be in real estate, whether that's lending on the real estate side, title. I mean, it's just obviously such a good time to be in the business, but ultimately, being able to navigate is a huge component, right, of where we are now. So from now to the end of the year, I'd imagine rates are going to be up a little bit, down a little bit. We're still in that 2.8 to 3.1 range, right? So all depending on credit. That's a 30-year fixed. So of course, a little bit shorter terms, the 20 is going to be a little bit less, and then a 15-year is going to be a little bit lower than that. But still, I think we've been hovering there for the last 3 weeks. I think there was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there was a point on like Monday or Tuesday where they had bumped up a little bit. We maybe got up to 3.2. But I think even that, 2 or 3 days later, by the time we did our call, they were back down to the, 2.8 to 3.1. So yeah, not a whole lot of permanent movement currently, right? I mean, we're still seeing, as far as like this week's forecasts were, inflation's still up, consumer sentiment, and then jobless claims. So obviously people filing for unemployment was still down, or not still down, it was down. So those are, that's ultimately a good thing for our economy. But as like what people need to realize is as things start to improve, companies open back up, restaurants open back up. Like one of the things that I'm seeing here, just even locally in the DFW area, which is not the same for other parts of the country. I mean, a lot of people are back out to football games and basketball games and hockey games. But I would actually wonder to see if they're completely sold out, maxed out like they've been in the past, or if there's a little bit of a slowdown from that perspective. So I mean, I think here in our area, people are almost back to how they were pre-pandemic, but for other parts of the country, they're not, right? I mean, the reality is that a lot of you can turn on the TV, watch a game, and you can see the stadium half full, right? Like it's still outside of Texas, there's still a whole lot of shutdowns. What we watch also is the Federal Reserve. So Federal Reserve Watch, the overall consensus for the federal funds rate is no increases, or essentially 0 to 0.25 increases in the federal funds rate between now and March. So again, the federal funds rate is the rate that banks lend to each other overnight. It's an indirect correlator to mortgage rates, right? It's more of a short-term thing. Now, December, right? The Fed didn't move rates. There's about a 6% chance in January that they will increase the federal funds rate, and in March there's a 29% chance. There's a consensus that's done. So we may start to see an uptick in the federal funds rate next year. Which again, I think a lot of these things that are out now are why we're seeing the possibility of mortgage rates significantly jumping next year, right? But man, at the end of the day, it really just depends. So there's as much of a chance that rates will be the exact same as they are now as 4.5, right? I mean, they could very well be 4.5 next year. But yeah, those are the biggest things. I think back in October, pending home sales index of signed contracts on existing homes was like 7.5%, or it had a 7.5% gain in October, which was probably more than expected. So there's a lot of good going on in the economy right now, which which is great, right? Great for consumers, great for everyone. But again, as the economy improves, things will start getting more expensive, right? Which the shortages, all that stuff, already made things more expensive. So it's like how much, from a consumer perspective, how much more can prices go up on everything, right? A gallon of milk, gallon of gas, home prices, right? Like the biggest way to combat inflation is for people to stop buying stuff.
Yeah.
But here locally, right? I mean, there are more people to buy houses than there are houses to sell. So that's obviously that's not gonna slow down anytime soon, right? But again, if things get a little bit more expensive, so if rates go up, that may slow down the demand. It's not. I don't think we're ever going to go back to prices how they were 10 years ago, right? I had another phone call 15 minutes ago. The finding the 10-acre ranch in Texas for $250,000 is not happening. At least not in DFW, right? There may be far west Texas, far east Texas, far south Texas, maybe, right? But if you're trying to be in DFW, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, right? Like the major metropolitan areas, unfortunately, it's just not happening. So my thought is get in now while you can, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't see home prices going anywhere. They may flatten out a little bit. I think the latest that I'd heard, we're expecting about a 10% increase next year. When previously this year we were hearing about a 20% increase in property values next year. So the revision to that is about 10% increase in property values for next year. So that's come down a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately, I just don't feel like I don't feel like things are going to get any cheaper, nor will the competition diminish that much, right? It'll slow down, but it's not. Yeah, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm in agreement with you on that.
Sorry, that was a mouthful. a lot of info.
Well, but everything you're saying is true. The prices are going to continue to go up, but there is a ceiling on what people are going to pay, and before they change their habits, either due to self financial discipline or simply not having the finances to afford those different things. So,
right.
And what you say about the 10-acre ranch in Texas is definitely true. I don't know if you heard, but Pulte had like 8 lots up in Salina, and they opened them up basically to auction, and people paid $113,000 for just a normal lot, not an acre or a half an acre, but $113,000. So yeah. On what, when I got into real estate 6 years ago, it was probably a $25,000 or $30,000 lot. So anyway, we're going to move on to our market stats. These are actually the same ones from last week. I'm not going to try to hide anything here. The market's basically just staying just about the same. It can't really move much from right here. I will comment that when you look at Collin County and you look at Denton County and particularly Dallas, you got to consider there's a range of homes everywhere in there from 200,000 to 3 million probably. And every different segment is experiencing different things. This is just an average of all of those. So for instance, I ran comps in McKinney the other day, and you've still got a 7% average of sales price to list price. And with the maximum of somebody paid 20 to 24% over on something. So you got to remember, if you're in Prosper, Salina, McKinney, Frisco, you're still probably looking at paying 7% or so over ask right now at this moment in time. So
yeah,
I just want, everybody looks and says, oh, you can roll into Frisco and get something for 2% over asking. Chances are that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
what I do want to talk about today, because when I am running these comps is I do see some outliers of price reductions. And I'm not saying that to get people excited about the fact that, oh, we can jump in and, maybe get something that's beyond reduced, because that's not the case. The
Yeah.
reason these are reduced is because they weren't priced right from the start. And that's probably one of the first things I learned in real estate, was getting that listing price right from the get-go is going to make you more money. So I just put these two social media graphics up. Pricing your house correctly is critical this winter. The reasons why: if you overprice it, it's going to sit on the market longer. That's not rocket science. Price drops is going to send the wrong message out to buyers that maybe there's issues, but that's not really even an issue in this particular market. Most likely, if you list your house and you're trying to get 330 out of it, if you list it at 325, you're going to price a lot of people completely out of those buyers. They're not even going to see it or look at it. Where if you were to price it, I find, like at a 299.9, you pull those buyers in that don't think they can quite or don't want to afford 330, but they get there, they fall in love with the property, and they suddenly, instead of 320, they can spend 330. They can find that extra money. And they never even looked at it if you had it at 325 from the get-go. So pricing is very important. I've got underneath that first graphic, you're basically, we call it chasing the market. I've got the green arrow is where you should have been. Possibly you should have listed at, say, 300. I never listed 300. It's always 299.9. But let's say you should have listed at 299.9, but instead you decided to list up here at 325, like my earlier example. And after 10 days, you don't have any offers because you haven't built up that competition, that need to get in and get it bought. Or so you end up price dropping after 10 days, and you don't go back down to 299. Now you're dropping down to 288. So, and then you start seeing those signals that there's something wrong. You're a difficult seller, hard to deal with. Maybe the agent's hard to deal with, a number of issues. So my message is price the house where it needs to be priced. And right now, I don't want to say you could price something for $1 and you're going to get top dollar if that's what it is, but I almost feel like because there's comps to support these prices. So anyway, what would you like to add to that, if anything?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I always hear, or I guess maybe even the first thing that I think about, is when I see a home that's been on the market for more than 30 days, right, in this type of environment, or here more than 2 weeks, right, in this environment, and you've had 1, 2, multiple price drops, like the first thing that I think about is what's wrong with it, right? But now, right, it what it should be is, okay, it was priced too high to begin with. So that should be the thought. It was priced too high to begin with, but most of the time it's like, hey, what's wrong with that, right?
Well, you deal with buyers every single day, so I mean, can you speak to how many buyers you have that qualify for 350 and can pay 350, but they're going out to look, their top they're going to spend is 325, right?
Yeah, because they have to build in
come back to you on a Saturday and say, what's it going to look like if I offer 335 on this house? I'm sure you hear that often. And what do you tell them? It's going to change their payment for an extra 10 grand.
Yeah, $10,000 is $50 a month, so not a huge change. But no, I mean, even to that point, if they're pre-approved for 350,000, they're essentially looking at homes in the 310, 320 range, because they're going to have to offer 350, right, on that 310, 320 home to even get it. So that's the other thing. That's kind of the flip side of that, is they're what the max pre-approval for is not the price range that they're looking at, right? Because that's we know they're gonna, if they're in Collin County.
Market, you can't. In this market, if you're looking at 350 or top, if your top range is 350, you better be looking at 300s and 310s. So,
Yeah.
But
for sure.
anyway, Chris and I, we love getting together every week and talking, talking numbers and real estate. You
Talking
can always
shop.
reach out to us, even over the holidays. I know we'll be working. We do a lot of business at the end of the year and the beginning of the next. So I expect to do that again this year.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Amy and I's number. Reach out to Chris. He can get you refied, get you pre-approved, get you put through underwriting and ready to go out and compete in the market. So
Absolutely.
well, man, appreciate it. I've enjoyed these last several months doing this. I know it makes me better, and hopefully it makes our sphere a little wiser as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, and just the vast amount of information that's out there, right? Good, bad, indifferent. And oftentimes it's not even local, right? So this, like for our stuff, right, we're super, like we're hyper local, to our areas and stuff. So I think, from that perspective, man, it helps a lot of people, a lot of good information. So
well, all right, man, have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone out there.
Happy